and start our broadcast. We are live.
Okay, so let me welcome everybody to the meeting of the Fruit Street Historic District Commission for March 30th, 2021. Before we do the roll call, could we check to see if one of our commissioners is in the audience, please, and raise him to a panelist? Kevin Wallace, are you there? Could you raise your hand?
I do not see Kevin in the audience unless he's under another name.
All right.
He may be trying to go to the other, he may be trying to find the other address and logging in.
Did he know about this meeting? Did we confirm that he knew about
Oh,
it?
Yes, he knows about the
absolutely.
meeting. He knows the time. He said yes. Let me see. I might just give him a quick call. Let's see if I can find his phone number.
Just tell him to go to the website and log in from there, and Andy
Yeah.
can pull him in.
Okay, I think I'm texting somebody. Actually, maybe I'll just call that number. Hang on, I'm just going to call it. I'm going to put you guys on mute for a sec. I think Kevin may be on now. He may be on the other. Andy, can you check for him? Oh, there we go. Kevin, you're on mute.
I'm in.
Okay, let me
Well done.
call. Welcome.
Thank you.
Joe Carper,
Present.
Maura Southworth,
Present.
Kevin Wallace,
Present.
Bonnie Sontag here. So I'd like to welcome Joe, as this is your first meeting as a commissioner. We're glad to have you on board.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great.
Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Good title for a song. Hey, Joe, I think.
So let me just go through the agenda and then we'll dive right in. For new
All right.
business, we have a 16 Fruit Street, Unit A, an application for certificate of appropriateness for fencing. There doesn't appear to be any old business. Correspondence and communications regarding 3 Fruit Street. There's under general business, approval of the minutes from our previous meeting on February 1st. And under other business, we will review notification letter to property owners and any updates that the chair has for us. So let's begin with 16 Fruit Street, Unit A. Our usual procedure is to hear from the applicant or a representative of the applicant. Do we have someone in the audience and for this application? And would you please raise your hand so that Andy can acknowledge you?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you.
This is Carmen Ochoa. I'm also joined, not with me, but Jody Noyes, the other owner of 16 Fruit Street, is here listening in. I filed the application. What we would like to do is move the stone pillar that is at front. We'd like to move it over 3 feet and finish the fence. There we go. Thank you for that photograph. So if you look at the trellis, there is a granite post to the left of the trellis. Right in front of our home, it's the corner of 16 Fruit Street. We would like to move that granite post 3 feet over and finish our fence going along the front of 16 Fruit to be a cedar fence with a top rail. And the granite post is, we would like it moved because we would like it sturdy and solid and keep the fence upright. And it also matches a lot of the other facades on other homes on Fruit Street. Any questions?
Okay. Yes, that was going to be my line. Any questions?
Carmen, a question I have is, why are you proposing to move it to the right rather than keep it where it is? Just for curiosity.
Well, I'd like to bring it over to the edge of my property line. And also there is, you can't see because of the snowbank, but there's actually a metal pipe or something there on the other side of that. And that would just help kind of protect whatever that is that's over there. It's it could be gas or water. And that was pretty much it. Those are the two reasons.
And then would you expect sort of multiple spans to go from, would there be a wooden post right outside your door? Or would that be another granite post? There's nothing there now, is that correct?
Oh, I have to look at it. If we need to put another one there, I suppose we could. I don't see the rest of it. I'll have to, but
I thought there was a granite post. I thought there was 4 granite posts. Am I mistaken?
Are there? Okay, all right.
Yes, I saw them today.
Yeah.
They go.
Yeah, I don't-
across.
There are 4 granite posts. Bonnie, do we ask questions now or do the audience make their comments before we make ours?
We will call on the audience. You're right. We kind of jumped into this, but it doesn't matter. We can go back and forth. Let's finish our questions and then we'll go to public comment. Thanks for reminding me.
One more, if I may just add one more thing, if you look at historical photos of the fence, it did come out there as well as it does on the other side. And their old photos did show kind of a gate there. We're not proposing that. So I'm just trying to bring the fence back out to its kind of a more natural position where it historically was. So that when the trellis is down, it will look more balanced.
So Carmen, you made a good point about property line. You're bringing it out to your property line. I think it's important we understand where your property line is and where it's not. That's one question. And the other is that there was a fence there before the renovation of 1618. There was a little fence between the trellis and that granite post.
Correct.
Very similar to the one on the right of the trellis. So
Correct.
there was a fence there before and that was taken down. I believe my question is, I have no problem with the fence coming out from the side of the house. My concern is making sure it is on the property, within your property line, because as we all know, there is some question about whose property belongs to whom in that space.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, I've never used this. I'd like to insert a plot plan here. Forgive me. I'm trying to figure out how to slide this over and access my desktop, but I have.
And Carmen, I do believe the plot plan does go out some distance from the house. I'm just, when you say 3 feet, is it 3 feet to the right edge of the granite post or to the left edge of the granite post when you say move it out 3 feet?
Oh, thank you. 3 feet to it's facing, looking at this picture.
Yep.
So I would look at it and say 3 feet to the right.
Okay, I just want to clarify that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would probably put it right next to the trellis, right?
Yes.
Okay, just so
about.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as far as the trellis, if I measured it correctly, but inside the trellis would be 3 feet.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
It'll be right next to it, correct.
Yep.
To the left of the trellis, not to the right of the trellis.
So looking at the trellis, you have your left post, the right post, you have the top going across. So the left post is nearest 16 Fruit Street.
Yep.
So the stone pillar would come over 3 feet and be right next to that post. even if the trellis was still there, the post would come over 3 feet and it would not go past it.
Okay, because there is a possibility the trellis will remain there. Again, we don't know what's going to happen with the new
Yes.
owners of the trellis.
Yes,
All right.
correct.
And then my other clarification is based on what we approved a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, maybe. The fence will look very similar to the one at 12 Fruit Street. So I believe it's cedar wood with a top rail. There'll be a granite foundation, and it'll be primed and painted white. I believe that's your plan, right, Carmen?
I have, I'm using the certificate of appropriateness that was
Yep.
that was originally written and approved with Balmoral
Yep.
Development. And I'm not sure if cedar was I've requested cedar in an email to
Okay.
him today with the top rail exactly as you just
Yep.
described. It does
Yep.
say to build it as 12 Fruit Street.
Right.
So I'm hoping that that's what happens, but that's
Yeah.
what we're asking for. We are asking for cedar with a top rail.
And 12
As
Fruit
long
Street
as
with
granite.
cedar with a granite base. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And
Alright.
Carmen, one other question about the fence. So presumably because the span is fairly long between the two existing granite posts and even longer if you extend it out, you're going to have to put another supporting post, probably wood, somewhere in between that. Is that what's anticipated? And would that other post be right between the two windows that we are looking at so it looks symmetrical?
I would suggest that if it was needed, absolutely. I wouldn't want that in front of a window. Just visually wouldn't seem balanced. So when they come out to measure, they haven't been out to measure and discuss fence yet because we needed our endpoints. So once we have kind of the beginning and end point of the fence, then those discussions will come in. And I would absolutely insist that it would go there if it had to be. In between the two windows, so against the wall, so that it would minimize its visual appearance.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
No, I'm
All
good.
right, let me just leave that conversation open, but now open the public comment. Anybody who'd like to speak from the public, please raise your hand and Andy will bring you up, whatever he does with that magic technology of Zoom. Please give us your name, your address, and try not to speak more than 2 minutes. Thank you.
So the first person we have is Tara Cedarholm.
Hi, my name is Tara Cedarholm. I reside at 20 Fruit Street. I wanted to simply express my support for this application. I think it is just a minor modification to the existing certificate of appropriateness. And I think the street was historically all fenced along the street, and the granite end posts are typical of what you can see in historic photographs of the street. So I think moving that granite end post to the end of the property line, using it as a cap for the new fencing is perfectly appropriate. So I wanted to speak in support of it. And that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
The next person we have is Jody. No last name. Perhaps you could identify yourself, Jody.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jody Noyes, and I live at 16B Fruit Street. And yes, I would just like to concur with Tara and Carmen in the sense that it makes sense for me as well for the granite post to be at the end of the property line, and to solidify that fence. And it just seems to make perfect sense to me that the granite posts go to the property line and be the end point of that fence as well.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
We have no other hands raised, Chair.
Okay, then I will close the public comment portion.
Donna, may I ask just one clarifying question?
Yeah, sure.
And this is for Carmen. If the fence post is moved to the property line, does that mean that you will need to walk in your neighbor's property to get into 16, or is that a public way?
That's a right of way common to others. So, no, not to my knowledge at all. It's a right of way. And the easement area is up against the house, the building. So if they wanted to, they could simply enter through the middle and walk along that area and go to their front door at 14 if they chose to.
Yeah, I was more concerned about how your tenant would access their property, having to walk in. But if it's a public way, it's moot. So I guess that clarifies it.
So
And-
I have an add-on question to that. When I looked at it today, there are two doors on that side of the house. The one that is on the main section has enough room. I mean, you walk straight down that 3 feet walkway and you can get in there. There's another door I noticed, and I don't know if it's even used, on the L that butts out, and that piece of the building looks like it's right on the property line. So is that the entrance we're talking about, where someone would have to walk into the right of way to get in to the building?
No, the entrance for Unit C, if I can understand your question, the entrance for Unit C is it's the first door on the left.
Yep.
And the second door that you see on the side of the building has been sealed off. There's a wall, an interior wall on the other side of that door. That's their living room.
That's what I was wondering. It didn't look like it was being used, so it wouldn't be an issue, but it
No.
clearly is opening. You couldn't put a toenail out there without being off the property.
It was kept that way for historical reasons.
Great.
It was part of the facade of the house.
And to clarify, you're moving the post that we see in the picture to the right. Are you doing anything with the other post on the other end? Because right now that is flush with the side of the house.
No, we have no plans to move that post.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from commissioners or from the applicant?
Again, I think historically and as the LHD, I don't see any issue with, in my opinion anyway, of moving the granite post. I am just more concerned that there's houses on both sides with a narrow passageway for entrances to both houses. And it's a small street. It's neighbors work together to resolve issues. I would hate this to be the start of a conflict between the two homes, to be honest. And again, this is not an LHD. This is just my opinion as someone living on the street. That's my only concern with it. I think historically, I agree with everything that's been said. There's no problem with it. It would be difficult if over the next months, years, it's just conflict about whose space is which. And we end up with lawsuits about, is it a walkway? Is it not a walkway? That's my only concern, Carmen. It's got nothing to do with historic nature. So I'm just voicing that now. It won't impact the way I vote. I just wanted you to be aware of my thoughts on that.
This is Kevin. And to Maurice's point, I think we need to be mindful of the fact that we have ongoing litigation here with the neighbor. Jim Legoulis's lawsuit has not been dismissed at this point. So whatever we decide tonight has got to be contingent upon resolution of that decision.
Yeah.
That's a good point as well. I need to understand why this could become a conflict, because you're all saying that you would have to, the residents of this side of the building, is that C, Unit C we're talking about? Yeah. Would have to walk in the public way. Can't they walk down? There won't be an entrance. Oh, yeah, that's my question.
Right now, Bonnie, it is a public way, but if the law courts decide that it can be a driveway, it's no longer a public way. It's now a driveway.
So here's my question. Is there going to be a gate in the fence abutting the granite post so that the residents and guests at Unit C could just walk on your own property and not have to walk down the right of way.
There could be. There could absolutely
Yeah.
be.
I was thinking about that this afternoon, and that's what's kind of rattling around in my brain. That would resolve any potential conflicts, unless you just want to wait and see if any develop and then put a gate in
I'd
there.
be
at some
happy to,
point in the
yeah.
future.
Actually, that's a good idea, Bonnie. You know, if you move the post, you have a gate there, then if down the road, for whatever reason, something gets decided, that way you can still access that property. That's a good idea.
To my understanding, Jim Legulis's application at the last meeting was to remove that arbor, correct?
Yep.
So-
Yes.
So we're not looking at a gate. We're not talking about a gate at this point. We're only looking at moving the post. The application tonight is to
That's
move the
not what
post.
I'm saying. Kevin, that's not what I'm saying. Look where the pile of snow is.
Yeah.
And behind that, partially hidden by the outer post of the trellis, is a trash bin, I believe.
Yeah,
Space between that existing trellis post and the building itself is the
Yeah.
3 feet. And she wants to move the post over
yeah,
effectively where that trellis post is. That leaves 3 feet between the post and the building. What I'm suggesting is when she puts a fence in that's going to connect right up to that post,
Yeah.
the granite, that there be a gate right there so that they could open the gate and walk down their 3 feet
yeah.
of private property on the side of the right of way.
But
And
we
that
haven't
one-
seen it, but we have not seen an application for the request of that gate at this point, correct? We're only talking
No.
about the granite post.
That's right. And that's
Okay.
what I'm saying is if she were to add a piece to that says we're going to put a fence in there, she could do it now, she could do it later.
Right.
That would eliminate any concern of walking on anybody's property but their
Yeah.
own.
Well,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be kind of odd, though, to have a gate right next to an open public way? I mean, why would you ever go through a gate if you could just walk a step to the right of it and enter that way?
Well, you would, except if there were, unfortunately, a disagreement about being able to use that right of way. And
So
if there's
I'm-
any concern, I'm just saying you could alleviate the problem before it develops.
But
So
that
the-
would be the determination of the current litigation by Jim Legulis. And if that goes away, then I think it's very clear that continues to be a public way. And I think your point might be moot at this stage because it continues to be a public way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm, yeah.
It's something that, can you hear me still? Am I
Yeah,
still?
no,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, I think based on what we have currently, we can move, I mean, it seems like if the post were moved and based on on what the current condition, and then another request could be made. So if that was not found a public way, then a request could be made to put a gate, which of course I would comply to.
Right.
But it just seems,
I-
seems reasonable.
Yeah, Carmen, I agree with that. I believe,
Okay.
again, as an LHD, we're looking at whether it's historically appropriate. We're not trying to make decisions based on lawsuits and
Yeah.
neighbors. So I believe, as far as that, again, moving the post, historical wise, fits with what we've done historically in the past. Putting a fence up there, definitely would love to see a fence up there. And then in the ideal world, the litigation goes away because, the house is now being transferred, sold by Jim Legulis. So that remains a right of way and life is good.
And who knows, your neighbors may decide to put a post where the trellis on the right is. And
Yeah, they may pull the trellis down, shorten the fence and put a granite post right there for sure. Yeah.
That's correct. In fact, one of the original documents that I saw for this development said just that, stone pillars on both sides. So let's hope that happens. I think it would look beautiful if it did, if there were stone pillars on both sides, and then there would be just a welcoming opening in the middle.
Yeah.
so do I, yep.
All right.
Okay. Well, I don't apologize for bringing it up because it was on my mind, and I'm glad we've decided that we'll leave well enough alone. And I'm comfortable where this has all come out.
No, it's important to have these conversations early on.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like we are ready to consider a motion to approve this application for certificate of appropriateness for fencing. Do I have a motion?
So
Yes,
moved.
I'd like to make a motion subject to the determination of the ongoing lawsuit by Jim Legoulis.
What does that mean?
Well, we can't make it, that's still ongoing. He has not dismissed his lawsuit. So that is still hanging out there. So until we've reached that determination, it's difficult for us to make any permanent decisions on this particular space. So
But
I'm
Kevin-
all for moving the post, but I think it's subject to whatever the outcome is of that decision.
But Kevin, if the post is moved within her property, then regardless of what happens in the suit, it's still on her property.
It is, but if the suit determines that that's a parking space for, what is it, 16? Is it number 16 or is it 14? For 14, then they're gonna have to move it. So I'm just trying to save some time here and some effort on their part. If for some reason the city decides that, yep, it's a parking space, let's go ahead and grant them the parking space for 14, then that post has to be moved to allow those people access to that space. So I'm just trying to think ahead. I just don't want to have to undo what we're doing here tonight. So what I'm thinking is we approve it because I'm in full support of it, subject to whatever the final decision is by the city on that ongoing litigation with Jim Legoulis, because it has not been put to bed yet.
So practically, that would mean Carmen has to sit with this until this whole thing is decided?
Correct. Unless she feels comfortable moving the post with the possibility that she'd have to move it again if the city decides in the favor of Jim Legoulis and his complaint or his lawsuit.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't remember what I have not actually seen all the wording in the lawsuit, but it's hard to believe that they will propose a driveway that would go onto the 16 Fruit Street property line. So I would say anything on 16 Fruit Street, and they can still try and squeeze a driveway in there, but 16 Fruit Street is 16 Fruit Street. It's not 14 Fruit Street.
Right.
So I honestly have not seen the plans to say, oh yes, we can now go onto 16 Fruit Street property and put a driveway there.
Yeah.
No, I think the whole idea was that there's wide enough that there would still be access to 16 Fruit Street and they could still put a driveway in, which is I think ridiculous. But that was their initial plan, was that there's enough space on 14 Fruit Street area to put a driveway in. So even moving the granite post,
but not with that post in place. If that post goes in, then there's no room to get a car in. I'm just trying to think ahead, and I certainly don't want these people wasting their money. Yeah. So I'm all for removing my initial motion and approving it as submitted, with the understanding that they know that this lawsuit is ongoing. It could go in either way. It could go in either direction.
Yeah.
But I'm with Kevin with Morris as well, because as long as Carmen is very careful that her post remains on her own property, she can do that regardless of a lawsuit outstanding or anything else going on. And she would leave, she has the option to leave it there, even if worst case scenario, it gets opened up as parking for number 14. They'd have to deal with it.
I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to think ahead. I just don't want people wasting their time or their money, doing things that might be undone at a future date. But if everybody's comfortable with this, I'm perfectly fine with approving this as it's been submitted.
Carmen, did you want to say something?
Well, I just thank you. I just wanted to say that the fence is part of really funded. It's already been paid for and just incomplete. So it's something that if later on, if we were told we had to move it, then that's what we're going to have to do.
Okay.
Well,
but the fence was paid for a year and a half ago, and it's just incomplete. And I would hate to just see this sitting this way undone on Fruit Street for even longer.
Yeah, and
Because we
my
want to
point,
get the shutters, we want to get the shutters up and get the fence
Right.
on and.
yeah,
have
and my
it-
point is, as long as you understand that this thing is still outstanding and could go in any direction, we don't know where it's gonna go, but as long as you're comfortable with it, I'm fine with it.
Can we hear from Jody if we could? The
Sure.
other owner? Jody, are you there?
Andy, can you let Jody in again, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I just had a quick question. I guess I'm not quite clear on it. So if the post gets moved to the edge of the property and the lawsuit that Kevin is referring to goes the other way, why would Carmen be responsible to move the post if it's still on her property? Because I just don't quite understand that.
Well, my understanding is that Chris Horan and Jim Legoulis granted a right of way to 14 Fruit Street for access for parking, for future parking in the event that happens. So I think that will be the driving force. And again, I'm just spitballing here, but I'm thinking that, you know, if push comes to shove and the city says, yes, we think that they have a valid point, they can put parking here, the burden will be on 16 Fruit Street to take that post and move it out of the way to allow people access to park, because if you move that post over there, there's no way a car can fit in that space. I don't think it can right now,
Right.
but you know, I still think that if push comes to shove, the city's gonna say, yes, we think it's valid and you've got to get that post out of there so we can get a car in.
And
And again, I'm
thought
totally projecting here.
And I thought the original measurements by Legoulis was only on the side, 8 feet from whatever it is from 14 Fruit Street. It did
It's
not
the
go
full-
all
yeah.
the way to the other house.
It's building to building. There's no way, and I've walked that
Oh, yeah.
multiple times. There's no way you're gonna get a car in there without pulling that post out. And,
Yep.
you know, my sense is you can't even open a door once you do get a car in there.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
I agree.
Their
I totally agree,
plan,
Kevin.
their initial plan, when they gave themselves access prior to development, was that they're gonna need the full width of that space, building to building, in order to get a driveway in.
And I believe Carmen would have a good argument to push back on it, even if it.
I don't disagree, but I'm thinking ahead. I'm just making sure that people understand what they're stepping into, because again, we can't make decisions for the city moving forward.
Yeah, no, I agree, Kevin, that it's good that we're discussing this. But again, I think our overview is, historic, LHD. That's where we're looking at. So I believe,
Understood.
Carmen,
Yep.
Carmen is well aware of the situation, obviously.
Good. Okay,
And I believe that we should just vote based on historical appropriateness.
then I'd like to modify my motion to submit the application as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so let me just get this down. Kevin and Joe, motion and second. Let me call roll. Joe,
I'm in favor.
Morris,
I'm in favor.
Kevin,
I'm in favor.
Bonnie, I'm in favor. Unanimous. You have your certificate, Carmen, and
Thank
Jody
you.
by extension.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. I would just like to say one thing. Bonnet is not only running the meeting tonight, she's taking the minutes as well. So,
I thought you were, but I didn't trust you, so I'm taking minutes anyway.
no, I was
Good
going to ask
decision. Good
Kevin.
Obviously, I
decision,
shouldn't
Bonnie.
have trusted you. All right. Right. Okay. Great. Thank you, everybody, on that one. We'll move on to correspondence and communications regarding 3 Fruit Street, and I'm going to turn it over to Morris on this one.
Yeah, and I have it on my other computer open somewhere. Maybe
I think
has
Andy
it as well.
Andy, can you pull up? Well, if you want him to, he can pull up, I think,
Trying to find it.
images if you want it.
Yeah, which just describe what you're looking for, and I can.
It's Mike. It says Mike Lukens, 3 Fruit Street. I just found it on my computer.
I'm sorry. Yes, the communication. Sorry.
Yes, yeah, the
Yes.
communication from Mike Lukens at 3 Fruit Street.
Yes.
And I don't know if Mike is on the meeting or not.
Well, again, you can see the attendees list. We only have 4 folks here. It doesn't look like it's in attendance.
Can I see? Oh, I can see the participants. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a tab for the general public. Yep.
Where do we see
Yeah.
that? Or is that,
Oh, actually, so it's Carmen, Jody, Tara, and Melinda. All right, thank you.
no, I don't see that at all.
If you click on participants,
At the bottom,
Maybe your view. Have you got a gallery view?
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yep, yep.
All right, walk us through it, Morris, please. Uh-oh, is he
sorry,
frozen?
I just froze. My computer, that's me. My computer froze.
Okay,
Sorry.
so what are we looking at here?
So this is an email. So I contacted Mike Lukens. I have a friend at work who knew him. And my apologies to him is that I did not go and talk with him. But he put a fence up between 3 Fruit Street and 1 Fruit Street. There was a fence already there. To be honest, I never even noticed. I'm oblivious to these things, I'm afraid. But several people on the street mentioned to me there's a fence just gone up. So I contacted Mike, and this is a reply from Mike to me explaining what the fence was about. And he's new to the street. I believe he came in summer last year, and he worked with 1 Fruit Street to make sure that with Sunday Porter. And his concern was the fence was rotting and falling down. So it was a repair on his part. He apologizes for not reaching out in advance. So he worked with, let's say, Sandy Porter to make sure that they could put it up. They based it on a fence between 5 and 7. It's a wooden fence. I believe if he'd submitted this to me and explained what was going on, I would have given him a certificate of non-applicability. The fence right now is not painted. His last question was he would plan to paint the fence white, which I believe we would be okay with that. So I just wanted to submit this and get the commission's thoughts on this of what he did. And I see, apologized profusely for not contacting us ahead of time.
Morris, is he proposing to paint both sides of the fence that are visible from the street?
I honestly don't know. This is the only email I've got. We could ask him to do that if that is the. I honestly don't know, Joe.
I mean, the fencing on 1 is white fence, and then it abuts into this natural color. And if he's painting his side white, I would assume that it would look better if the other side were painted white as well.
Right.
Joe, I have a question. Is that other side you're talking about visible from a public way?
Part of it, the whole part of it, there's a fence that extends parallel to Fruit Street from the house to the fence, and that is I believe in part a white fence, and it basically divides the backyard from the street side. What goes on beyond, as that fence continues down the property line beyond that parallel fence, you can't really see that from the street, but you can see the part from the curb to the.
And I'm sure we could request that from him.
Yeah, it's because the reason I ask is that we only have authority over anything that can be seen from a public way, whether it's Fruit Street or Prospect or High, or, depending on which corner it's on, but it's still.
About 1/4 of it can be seen from the public way. The other 3/4 cannot.
So I would say request that they paint anything that's visible white.
My other question is painting, do we have oversight over painting a fence?
Well, it has to
Painting a
be-
house, people can choose whatever color they want to paint a house. Should we?
Right, but if they're going to paint one part of it, we can't
Right.
even say that they should paint the rest of it.
We can ask that for sure. Can we say, yes, you
We
have to?
can't say you can't do purple, but I mean, as you said, they were.
He sounds very agreeable to,
white.
I mean, he's apologetic that he didn't let me know ahead of time. So I am sure he would be fine with that. I can contact him and ask him and see where we go. And if there's issues, we'll bring it up at another meeting.
So you will ask him.
I will.
Okay, thank you for following up.
And I assume we don't want him to take it down and redo it.
Yeah. Anything else on this from anybody? Okay, we'll move on to the next item of business, which is approval of the draft minutes from February 1st. I'll take a motion to approve, and if there are any comments, we'll review those after the motion and the second.
Motion to approve.
Kevin.
Motion to second.
Okay, any comments, edits?
I think on my public comment, I'm not sure whether this can be changed, but I think it looks like you copied and pasted something from the paragraph above, from Tara's comment, and attributed it to me, which I don't think I said.
Tell me which piece it is, because I'm the one that,
The second sentence, just because the fence section of 16 Fruit was removed doesn't necessarily justify removal of the fence section at number 14, which is similar to what is reported that Tara Cedarholm said. I didn't say that. I was
Okay.
fully in support of the removal.
I do remember you saying it was inconvenient for a tall person to walk under it, though.
That's true. It was more meant to be a humorous aside, but it's
And that's how we took it.
it's perpetualized.
well, how convenient that you happen to be here to give us that correction. Because we would have known otherwise.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, any other corrections? I'll have to call roll on this for acceptance. Joe, you have to abstain, obviously, because you weren't a member at the time. So I'll start with the roll call. Joe?
Abstain.
Yep. Morris?
Yes, yeah, sounds good to me. Support it.
Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, and I was there because I took the notes, yes. Minutes approved as amended. Moving on to, where are we? Other business. Review of the notification letter to property owners, which Morris has edited recently and put forward as needing to be reissued. I'll turn it over to him.
Yeah, and I put the date on it for you, Bonnie, because you said Morris put the date on it because my original letter did not have a date on it. So I've updated it to a date. I don't know, Andy, if you want to present it on the screen. This should be letter to property owners, March 2021.
Yeah, hang on one second.
Did I send you that? Maybe, I think I sent you that.
I don't recall seeing it, but let me just
Maybe I
check.
didn't send it you. Okay. I know
Did you email that or?
I sent it to the commission to read before the meeting. I may not have included you, Andy. I don't, to be honest, there was so many emails going around the last few days. I'm not totally clear what was sent around. This basically is a letter update. It's going to go to everybody on the street. We have a lot of new people who've recently come onto Fruit Street. It's really introducing myself and the members of the commission and what we do, how this was started and what our role is here. And part of this is, obviously to avoid the situation we had with 3 Fruit Street where they did not realize that they needed to notify.
Okay. I have one correction. I checked in with Diane today and applications are now accepted online. So I would recommend revising the section that says return with 6 copies.
Yeah,
it should be done
I see
online.
that. I will. Good point. I missed that.
And in fact, I looked at Carmen's today, and it's been filed electronically. So
I will rewrite that so it makes more. It's an agreement with the way we want to submit applications to the website. That's a very good point.
Okay, and please send a copy to all of us so that we have the official letter.
All right.
I just make one comment. I think it's a great letter. I do have one little grammatical edit on the next to last paragraph where we say we meet the second Thursday of each month at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
period. Then, although I think if you just remove the the period and lowercase although. It's really one sentence, right?
Yeah.
Just to clean that up a little bit. And then also the other thing is, would it make sense to put some sort of a friendly sentence in there about if you have any questions about an upcoming project, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Just to encourage an informal discussion before people feel they have to go through this kind of drawn out process.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because I do try and talk to the applicant. Like I talked with Carmen before, when this was going on early on, and but I agree, maybe something like that. I mean, I do say please contact me, but maybe I can make it more friendly, and actually say that I live at 12 Fruit Street, for example. Or
well, you said that. I mean, the please contact me sort of it says if you would like to receive updates, or if you have, well, yeah, I guess if you have questions.
But I can make it more informal, Joe. I can make it more informal, and maybe I can both of us on there if you would like, me and you, because we both live on the street, and that way we can make it more. It's easier to communicate that way.
Yeah.
Let me rewrite something, and then I'll run it by the commission, and then.
Yeah, because what I really liked about what Joe said was the idea that they can talk to you in advance of submitting a formal application. I can't remember if you actually say that, but that's the key to me.
Yeah.
So that people aren't put off by the idea that they have to put in an application before they can.
Well, that was my plan, Bonnie, so that nobody would apply, so that we didn't have to do anything. But I guess you want me to be more.
Would you
approachable?
Is that something you'd like to do?
It's something that I intended to be the way it is, and it seems to work that way. Most people either reach me or, to be honest, they sometimes reach other people on the street like Jim Roy, and they eventually get to me. But yeah, I agree. Something saying that, please contact me, and I'll reword it, okay, and try and make it more like, please approach your neighbor, your good neighbor Morris, or something.
Yeah, and I would say approach you if you contemplate any exterior changes to your property, or any work on your property, something like that. So it basically, most of the time you're going to say go ahead, but I mean it at least gets folks.
No, I understand. I understand, Joe, what you're saying. So it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
And I shall reword a couple of things at the end of the letter.
Morris, can we add somewhere in that letter that in the event that people decide to sell their homes and list them for sale, that they really need to notify their realtor and or any prospective buyers that they're buying into an historic district, and they really need to comply with the guidelines that govern the street?
Yes, we could do that too. Kevin,
that seems to be falling through the cracks. I watch this stuff, and if stuff comes on the market, I'm happy to notify the agent, the commission.
All right.
But their listing agent of 3 Fruit Street and the buyer agent should have been very well aware that their clients were selling and buying in an historic district, and there are guidelines that these folks need to comply with, and these folks clearly were not notified of that. So the burden's on us as realtor professionals to let these people know as they buy into the street.
All right. So Kevin, can you do me a favor and can you send me an email with some of what you just said?
I will.
Thank you. And if Joe, you want to write something to make me sound pleasant.
Oh, that's a big
It is. That's going to be a long paragraph. I tell you, it's going to be a lot of work, Joe. I'm giving you a task here.
Will do.
Thank you. And then I'll put everything together and I'll change the way we apply and I'll circulate it for everyone to read. Thank you. Thanks for the input.
Great. Any other updates, Chair?
There are other updates, yes. One is, it must be all about fences tonight. We got another application or approach from the museum, so 96 High Street. So I believe you do have this, Andy. This is from Susan Edwards at 98 High Street, and I'd like to thank Tara. Tara helped chase up Susan for me to and really just give a let us know what they're doing with the fence between that's the letter. Thank you. Pretty much this is work that's been ongoing between the museum and 20 Fruit Street. They're asking for a certificate of non-applicability. And basically the grant is, and it's attached some photos too, which I believe everyone may have seen or should have seen. It showed the old granite and the old fence that was definitely falling down, and the granite was actually dangerous. This is the new granite. It looks beautiful. If you look at it beforehand, it was definitely not beautiful. And they're at the stage now where that's the old granite. And as you can see, there was bits, it was just not safe, and the fence was rotting. So if you read the letter, they did a lot of work to design it and make it appropriate. So the granite looks very similar to the way it was before, and now they want to finish the project by putting up the fence. And Susan went into detail in her letter explaining what the fence would look like. So I just wanted to discuss it tonight because she sent me this last week. And this is the retaining fence that they want to install. And it's not identical to the current fence that was there, or the fence that was there, but it's similar in size and similar. Obviously, it's historically appropriate in my opinion. I personally have no issues with whether this is applicable or not. I would like to get feedback though from the commission on your views on this.
Does the do the neighbors at 20 have any objection to this?
I will let Tara, I think Tara's still on the line. Andy, can you get Tara?
Yeah, Tara, you'll have to unmute on your end as well.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
No, we have no objection. So in fact, we had notified the Historical Society, sometime last year that the granite wall was going to fall into the garden. Susan had already told us that they were planning to replace the fence. And I don't know if you recall, I don't know if she included the fence, but there was it was a solid board fence up to a certain point, and then it had kind of an open work fence closer to the street, which Susan said initially they thought was historically accurate based on some earlier work that had been done, I think maybe before Susan came to the museum, but the more recent historical work, they could not confirm that that was historically accurate. So she said they didn't think that fence was, so they said they were willing to do board fence the whole way. And frankly, where the fence was open work is actually the section where our outdoor air conditioners and garbage baskets happen to be. So turning that to a board fence seemed to make an improvement for everybody on the street. So we have no objection. And in fact, the wall is done and the fence is, I think, coming almost any day now.
Great. Yeah, the wall looks beautiful. I took a walk over there the other day and it is gorgeous.
Yeah, the guy who did, his name is Fabio Bardini. He's from Salem, Mass, and he's unfreaking believable. He did a beautiful job. And that's all Cape Ann granite, so Cape Ann mortar. So there's cement on the backside, but what you can see, there's no cement mortar. He resolved all the sort of problems that we had. Obviously, years of people kind of mortaring it from our side.
Very nice.
Anybody else? Comments? Bonnie, Kevin?
Just to clarify, so you're anticipating then that you would tell her that this doesn't need an...
Yeah, I would put together a letter, certificate of non-applicability, and because it's repair of, and replacement, and then submit that. So it's on record that it came to our meeting, was approved. And I would, if Susan sent me the information probably a while back, we had no meeting planned, I would have drafted that. As we were so close to the meeting, I believe it was important we brought it to the meeting.
You just read my mind. I was wondering why we were discussing it. Thank you.
Yeah, it was because I just thought last week, because I think I've had my hand slapped before for approving some things that maybe I should have brought to the meeting's attention. So I thought I'd try and behave myself this time.
No, you were just lucky because we were having a meeting.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go a year without a meeting. We know you.
Yeah.
That's all right. You've done good.
For
You've
once,
done very good. Thank you.
All right, so I think that's it, except for one more topic, and that is our fifth member. So we've had two people approach us applying to be a member of the commission. One is from Tara, who we just heard from, and I believe you all saw the application from Tara. Tara obviously lives on Fruit Street at 20 Fruit Street. And then the other one was from Eileen Graff. And Eileen Graff is an architect in town. She actually has been to some of our meetings on the other side of the table. And she actually has a project right now going on with Lisa Foley at 24 Prospect, which is the house at the bottom of Fruit Street. So she's working with Lisa on some project that will probably come to the commission. She said in about 3 to 4 months. She feels that she would prefer to wait that amount of time before she applies to become a member of the commission. So I think the question tonight is whether we can wait, whether we should wait 3 to 4 months for Eileen, who is an architect, and I do know the preference is to have an architect on the commission.
Is that not a requirement? I think that the makeup of the commission is pretty clear, is it not?
It's preference. It's not set in stone, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when I read it, it's like, it's not that we have to have an architect or we have to have a realtor. It's more that would be the preferred member grouping of the commission.
Okay, my other question is, are these appointments not at the pleasure of the mayor and the city council?
They are. I believe, and I just want to offer one alternative too. When I was reading up the other day, we are allowed alternates, and we've never had enough people interested in joining the commission where we've had an option to ask someone if they want to be an alternate. And I believe the alternate would step in when we are missing people. I also believe an alternate would be great for when somebody decides they want to step down from a role. We have somebody already in line who understands the process. The fact we have 2 people interest makes me feel that we could have one. And again, I agree, Kevin, they have to go through the mayor and get approved by the city council. I'm just wondering whether, do we have both of them submit to the mayor and the mayor decides which one, or do we have some say on that? I honestly don't know.
I don't think we do.
Okay.
I think, and that's just my opinion. My sense is it's really at the pleasure of the mayor and the city council. We have no opinion one way or the other on these applicants as they come through, that they submit their applications.
Excuse me, Kevin. It's not just this commission. All boards and commissions have applicants. And my experience, not just as chair, but even vice chair of the planning board, is we would interview people and we would put forward who we felt was the best candidate. Now, it wasn't ever anybody who said, I'm going to put through my application anyway and see if I get chosen because I really want to do this. But we always interview and we put forward the candidate we want. So I believe that we should make a decision which one we'd like to have as a candidate and a full commission member, and which one we'd like to have as an alternate if we're agreed that these 2 are equally, but differently, but are good candidates to be on the commission.
The challenge I have, Bonnie, is I like both candidates. I think both would be great candidates to have on the commission. I guess my only reservation is we already have 2 Fruit Street members on the commission. Obviously, Tara will be a 3rd Fruit Street resident on the commission. I've not seen anything saying we cannot have 3 residents on the commission. So again, how important that is, I don't know. But I'd love to have both Tara and Eileen involved somehow. And I suspect we'll have 1 or 2 of us who in the next few years may be stepping down anyway, just FYI.
Yeah, but to Morris's point, I think they're both great candidates, but I think in terms of balance, I think we need to be very mindful of the fact that any commission in the city needs to have balance and representation. So to have 3 residents as primary members on any commission, whether it be this commission or any other, I think might be problematic moving forward. So I think we need to be careful about that. And I'm supportive of both applicants. I don't feel as though either one of them would be a bad addition to this commission. But again, I think having 3 residents on the commission might be an issue in terms of objectivity.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think the same way. I thought it was a great idea that we had so much interest from Fruit Street. But I've always, I mean, since we've been talking to Aileen for quite a few weeks now, and she's only now come forward and given us sort of a timeline, I was leaning toward her to begin with because I do think we need an architect.
Yeah, and it's been more like months, Bonnie, not weeks. I think we spoke to Eileen 2 meetings ago initially.
Yeah. So I'm definitely in favor of her for those reasons. I'm not against Tara. I'd love to have her expertise in historic preservation. But as Kevin points out, do we long-term, whether she's an alternate and then or becomes a full-time member, and Morris doesn't happen to be the one who drops off that she replaces, say I get run over by a truck and she has to replace me, then you've got 3 members from Fruit Street. Let's play with that a little. Does that have any problem with objectivity or any other issue? I'm not sure. I think we should talk about that a little bit.
In a way, I like having, I mean, I love having Tara's perspective and Joe's perspective and the interest that they have on the commission. We've gone 11 years without anyone, oh no, I shouldn't say this. We've not little interest from people on the street, but mild interest. And it's only in the last couple of years, really, with Joe coming onto the street, getting more involved. Tara recently coming onto the street, getting more involved. I believe we've reached a kind of little tipping point where.
Whoops.
We lost him. Quick, somebody else speak. He's out. No, to Morris's point, I think it's great. Having perspective is critical. But I think having Tara as an alternate initially, and if somebody steps off, sliding her into a permanent position would be a great way to keep everybody in the loop.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've had ongoing discussions with Eileen for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I think probably following through there makes sense first. I think having an architect to be able to push back with other architects who present plans and speak the language, I think is definitely helpful. And I agree, though, that I think that Tara will be a great addition. Having folks on the street that care, I mean, it kind of cuts both ways. I mean, you don't want it to be so insular that we're just kind of talking among ourselves on the one hand, or we are so afraid of offending our neighbors by making a tough decision that there's no way that I'd want a majority of the folks to be Fruit Street residents. Because I think having that outside perspective and that greater balance makes sense. But I don't know. I mean, I think Tara would be great. If an alternate would be be sort of a commissioner in waiting, so to speak, that might not be a bad idea.
Well, you've just contradicted yourself, because if we play through the scenario, if I drop off, you would end up, and Tara's the alternate, she's next in line, you'd have 3 out of 5 commissioners from Fruit Street. That's your problem.
Well, that's true.
Our problem.
Yeah, I think at that point we can decide how it is, because if Bonnie and Kevin, again, we could decide where we're going to go with that. I would not. I believe from what we're discussing right now, it sounds like we're going to propose, Eileen contact the mayor and interview them. The mayor may not like Eileen. Who the hell? I don't know. So, I think it sounds like we want to propose.
She's so grateful to have applicants. She falls over herself most of the time, unless you spit in her face or something. It's not going to happen.
Have these applicants submitted their request to the mayor's office already?
I know Tara has. I don't believe. I'm not sure Eileen.
Eileen hasn't, because she's holding off until her application, her client comes before us.
Right.
So that might need some clarification by Morris with the mayor.
My sense is we can function very well, given the frequency of our applications. By the time we meet again, it could be summer, it could be fall, it could be winter. So my sense is we function very well with 4 for the moment. And we just kind of play this out and we don't rush any decision.
Okay, but if that application is already in with the mayor, don't you think that Morris ought to have some kind of conversation with her about the fact that we are holding off and that the plan would be that Tara be proposed as an alternate, and that when Aileen is ready, she will put in her application for the current opening?
Yes.
All right. Morris, it's on you. I got you.
Who am I talking? I'm talking to the mayor. I'm talking.
You're going to send a letter explaining that we don't want her to rush ahead. Basically, we don't want her to rush ahead and approve Tara for the one opening because she's the only applicant. But rather that we've had this conversation
Right.
and we'd love to have Tara available to us as an alternate.
Do we
But
have
because of-
do we have written communication from Eileen?
Yes, there's an email. It's actually, Andy, you have it. It says from Eileen.
Yeah,
But
did
she's
you want me?
not written, she's not written to the mayor.
Not written to the
Then we-
mayor. She only
all right.
sent an email to.
And that's what I'm worried about, is that Tara has written to the mayor, which
Yeah.
is the route to go. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. But Aileen hasn't, so the
Yeah.
mayor doesn't know what's going on, and that's what I'm asking Morris to do.
Yeah, that makes
clarify.
sense. I would forward Eileen's email to the mayor with a email from you, Morris, or a phone call explaining the situation.
Okay. Okay. I can do that.
Okay. So, I mean, we are blessed with a multitude of wonderful people. This is great.
Well, it's assuming
Um,
Tara still wants to, yeah, let's, yeah, I want, yeah, okay, I'll talk to the mayor.
Yeah. I don't think we should open it up for discussion right now. Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
also talk with Tara.
Okay. Anything else, Chair?
Oh my goodness, I think that's enough.
You
I
got enough?
believe that is
Anybody?
everything I can remember anyway. I think this is the most topics we've ever discussed. at
You're
a
doing
national
okay.
meeting.
We're making up for lost time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because
No,
Joe's
this
new.
is
I think we
great.
just
I
saved
think
it all
it's
for
wonderful.
Joe.
Thank-
I think that's what we
Thanks,
did.
Joe. Thanks a lot.
I do my
We
best.
have one topic and that's
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah.
yeah. All right.
Okay. Any questions, Joe, on your part, just because this is your first meeting and we'd like to hear from you?
No, I'm fine. I appreciate being here and glad to contribute.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, definitely.
No, thank you, Joe.
Okay, I don't have any more business, so I can take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
And I approve.
And I will call roll. Joe,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes, please.
Kevin,
Yes.
Bonnie, yes. So see you the next time I see you.
All right. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very
thanks,
much. And
Andy. Thanks.
yes,
Thanks for hosting
Andy,
the call.
thank you
Thanks,
very
Andy.
much.
Have a
And
good
thanks
night.
everybody else. If anybody else is still on the line, I can't see right now. If anybody is still on, thank you for attending the meeting.
Right. Okay, good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.